So if you are watching this video, you want to learn how to make our sweet midnight DIY skirts. And this is something new that we're doing, so I'm very excited. In the video, you are going to see me make the glamping in the graveyard skirt. Now, this is not for beginners. This is probably an intermediate sewing skill that you will need in order to make this skirt, okay? It's not quite advanced. The hardest thing is putting in the side zipper and putting the elastic in the waistband, which took me 3 times to get it right while I was making this video. It was a little confusing to me. So as long as you're good with putting in pockets, you can put in a zipper, and you can figure out that the waistband, our logo, goes on the side seam, not in the back, you're okay. These skirts are DIY, and the cool thing about DIY, do it yourself, if you don't know, is that you can embellish them and make them your own, and I am going to encourage you to do that. Please make these skirts your own by adding embellishments to them. Add lace to the hem, add glitter in the moon, add rhinestones or sequins as stars in the sky. That is the whole point of this, is to kind of make these skirts your own in a sense. And when you do, we want to see the finished project. So be sure to take a photo of you wearing your skirt and post it on our Facebook group, and I will share the link down there, okay? Also, you will need basic sewing supplies. The kit, if you're using our kit, and you don't need to use our kit, you can use the instructions from this video to make it out of fabric, to make the skirt out of fabric that you already have. You don't necessarily need to buy our kit. But if you do, it's gonna come with the Sweet Midnight fabric for the skirt that you choose, and it's gonna come with a zipper, and it's gonna come with a hook and eye, and it's gonna come with a little piece of elastic if you wish to use the elastic in the waistband, which I recommend because we're girls. I'm assuming we're girls. I mean, if you're a boy, that's cool too. You can wear the skirt. But we lose weight, we gain weight, we get our periods, we get bloated. So it's nice to have that little bit of extra elasticity in the waistband to allow for that. So that's why I recommend definitely putting the elastic in the skirt if you are comfortable with it. So you are going to need a bunch of supplies, and all these supplies should be in your basic sewing kit that you have at home. You're going to need straight pins, a sewing needle, a sewing machine, an iron. Ironing board is a good idea. You're going to also need thread. Color choice is up to you. You will see me changing my thread numerous times during this video because I was having major issues with my machine, and you're gonna see me also switch machines in the middle of the video. You're going to also need any embellishments, a ruler, measuring tape, and I'm trying to think, ruler, measuring tape, embellishments, chalk. Tailors chalk is a very good idea. If you don't have Tailors chalk, you can use a pencil very lightly. And I think that's pretty much it. Scissors, definitely need scissors. So I also recommend having a scrap piece of fabric on hand to test out your sewing machine on. Good idea. I learned that the hard way, as you will see in this video. And you're gonna be able to wear the skirt, and it's gonna be awesome. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, my lovelies, I'm going to show you guys how to make this awesome gathered skirt. So if you bought the kit from us, you will already have the fabric. Please pre-wash it in hot water to shrink it. If you don't do that, it will shrink after you sew it, and it's gonna be a mess. The waistband has these marks that say small, medium, large, extra large, 2X, 3X. That's supposed to be 4X. 4X. 4X is the right. Okay? So you have to determine what size you are. And you determine that by taking your handy dandy measuring tape. And I'm gonna flip this around. measuring tape around your waist, your natural waist. I just had breakfast, big breakfast. So right now I'm about a 31.5, okay? So I'm going to find the closest measurement to 31.5. So I'm between a medium and a large. I'm gonna go with medium because we're gonna put some elastic in this and that's going to help, okay? So the next step, we're gonna cut these pieces out. Okay, now we're gonna make a large. So I'm just gonna mark here, see how I'm using the straight edge here to mark where the large is. That's gonna be my cut line, where that arrow's pointing in purple. And so if you're gonna do an extra large or 3X, of course you would line it up to the arrow that you're gonna use. And then we're gonna do the same thing on this side. So there's my large. And I'm gonna mark it so I know where to cut. And so now I'm gonna cut out my waistband. Okay, now we are going to be putting the zipper in, and in my opinion this is the most confusing part of the whole process. And I know a lot of you are probably asking why I iron my fabric after I cut it out instead of before I cut it out, and the reason is because I have a teeny tiny, like, dorm sized ironing board. I accidentally might have purposely painted glitter on my full-size one, and so I use a little baby dorm one. So that is why. When we put the zipper in, handy dandy instructions, okay? Shows you that we're gonna put the zipper and the pockets together like this. I know I'm gonna fuck this up, screw this up, sorry. I'm gonna screw this up, but we're gonna do the best that we can. So, we're gonna sew one side like this to the zipper here. Gonna pin it, sew it, open it up, and then on the other side we are going to sew the pocket to the other side of the zipper. And I will show you how we're gonna do that. Okay. You're going to want to put your zipper foot on just so you guys can see how I'm doing this. I'm sure I'm doing it incorrectly. My own damn skirt. Okay. I'm gonna use kind of a medium to big stitch. And we're going to sew this zipper on. Broke my thread. Ta-da! And then we're going to take our pocket that I just had, and I don't know what happened to. Okay, so there's one. It's gonna be the wrong pocket. Mr. Pocket. There we go. And then we're gonna line this one up there. It's gonna kind of be like this. Okay. We're gonna pin it. And we're gonna sew it. And to me, this is the hardest part of making this whole skirt. Just because putting the zipper in can be a little confusing. Zippers are always a little difficult. So. For some reason, the tension on my sewing machine is all out of whack. And I live in the middle of nowhere, Bisbee, Arizona, and we don't really have a sewing vac place anywhere near us that I would trust with my sewing machine. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do with her. Okay. I'm going to kind of do this one this way. I had it right the first time. Why did I mess with definitely needs to go to the doctor. Oof, so bad. Finger press and taut stitch the zipper. And then we have our gigantic back panel done, and now we're going to do the front panel. So this piece is gonna get sewn here. This is the Halloween as a Lifestyle piece. And that's partially why these pockets have little sayings on them, so you have an easier time figuring out which goes to which side, because we don't have any notches on our skirts because they're so easy to make. So this is skirts with pockets are the best. Right sides together, we're sewing it to the front. Always right sides together unless otherwise indicated. So the next step, we attached the zipper to the left side, skirt back, left skirt, back pocket. Attach pockets to front and back at side seams. Did all that. So skirt front and back together at pockets and side seams. See photo A for reference. Okay? So we're going to go all right? We are pinning the front to the back at the side seams. Do your best to match the artwork on the front and the back pieces. Now we're sewing the front and back together on the side seam, and then around the pockets you want to pivot. Clip the curves of the pockets. And then do the same for the other side. Okay, before we baste, we're gonna find the center back and the center front. I do this just for my reference. So you basically fold this in half, pocket to pocket, and at the halfway mark, that is your center point. So you can either take your chalk, wherever I put it, or you can take a pin and you can mark it. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing to the front. We're gonna go pocket to pocket, find the center, mark it. And this is just for my reference. And then we're gonna baste. Baste by by sewing 2 rows with your machine's basting stitch. That's going to be the longest stitch. Your 2 rows are going to be about 1/4 of an inch from one another. Very, very close to the seam. Stop basting at the side seam, and then you're going to want to do the other side. So you do the front, and then you do the back, each getting 2 rows of basting stitches. Make sure to leave a tail of thread so you have something to pull the stitches together with. And that's what you're going to use to gather the waistband. Okay, so what I've done is I cut a piece of fusible interfacing, roughly the size of my waistband piece. Now, I like a lot of interfacing, so I'm doubling it, or you can just do it on 1/2 of your waistband. I just tend to really like a stiff waistband, so that's why I'm doing it this way. And you're going to apply it when you feel your interfacing. If you're using Fusible, these little dots are glue, and you can kind of feel them, so you know that the bumpy side goes down because that's your gluing side. Use the interfacing to the waistband by ironing it and then trim off the excess. And then according to our instructions, we're going to fold under 1 inch on the bottom of the waistband and press. At this point, I am measuring 1 inch and I am pressing the bottom of the waistband. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attach our elastic to our waistband. Now what I like to do is I like to fold it in half, end to end, and find our center. Okay, this is going to be where the side seam is. Good way to figure it out also is it's the center of our logo right there. And I'm going to mark that. Okay. Then we're going to find the center of each of those pieces. Fold it in half. Fold it in half. Finger press if that helps you. Now by this point in the process, I was having major sewing machine malfunctions, and I was very frustrated. So as you can see, I have a new sewing machine, and what I forgot to get on video was the fact that I folded the waistband together and I sewed the ends, which you can see by my left hand. So you fold it by the width and you sew it. What I'm doing here is I am pinning the elastic to the center point of the back of the waistband. And then I am stretching it. Basically, I measured 2 inches on one side, 2 inches on the other, and I kind of stretched the elastic to meet those 2 sides. I am making sure right now that I am sewing it in the proper place, or pinning it in the proper place. It looks pretty good. And now I am going to use a zigzag stitch and stitch the elastic to the waistband. point, I am speeding up the process because gathering is not very fun to watch. So what I'm doing is I'm gathering the top of the skirt with where the waistband is going to be sewn to the skirt, and I'm pinning them together. So I'm pinning the waistband to the gathered part of the skirt. I am matching up the center front, center back, and the side seams. And I am not gathering the pockets. The pockets are going to lay flat. So the skirt's going to be pinned, all gathered together, and then the pockets are going to lay flat, and we're going to sew them flat. The pockets do not get gathered with the top of the skirt. Otherwise, it's going to look weird. So I'm gathering. It's not fun. I'm gathering and pinning, and then we are going to sew the waistband to the skirt. And one thing I want to reiterate is that when you pin the pockets, make sure they are flat towards the front of the skirt. They are going to be pinned to the front. At this point, I've folded the waistband over. I am making sure that it covers the seam, and I am pinning it down. And then we're going to top stitch it. Try your skirt on, figure out where you want it to be hemmed, and then hem your skirt. I prefer to hem it by hand, but you don't have to. At this point, you can sew on your hook and eye, or if you prefer, you can use a button. And this would be the time to embellish it with lace or rhinestones or glitter or anything you want.